Really? Dude, you could just put them down on some trumped up charges. I thought like roofing in June as a redhead, you know? And the audience was like, ooh, because you're criticizing women, feminists. And even the host was uncomfortable. Here, you just see Kimmel going, yeah, right? Dummies on the internet. Speaking of communists, Jimmy Kimmel, he had Bill Burr on the show. Okay, let me be really clear here. Bill Burr is one of the funniest comics ever. You could argue top 10, top 5 ever. No one would actually have a problem with that. So it's not about him not being funny. There's been a noticeable shift, though, from Bill Burr, where when he would do his voice, you know, it was kind of like we do a Claim Truth, where he would point out something stupid that somebody might say, and it was relatable. You know, he would say, you know, like, dude, you got guys there, so like, you got to check your white bill. Like, Jesus, shut up, right? Like, come on. What, like I was just born rich? Like I just came splattering out in a yacht? You know, whatever it is, what he would say. And now this voice is actually so out of touch with the common man, it becomes unrelatable. And his whole career, like Josh Firestein was saying, is built on like, dude, do your research. Like, read up Bilderbergs, right? That's the kind of thing he would do. Yeah. And now he pairs the lines that you hear in mainstream media that could be dispelled with a modicum of research. So I ask you, first off, where would you rank him among comedians? I would rank him very highly. I get it. He's far more accomplished than really most comics of the modern era. And he is fundamentally wrong in his response here on Kimmel to the Los Angeles fires. Here we go.
Yes, like most people I got lucky, you know, the winds moved, but, you know, the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky.
Are you guys back in?
And I think everybody did a great job.
Yeah.
Unlike the internet, you know?
Yeah, right. I know. It's right.
Oh, my God. All of these fire experts. Why didn't you just fly a helicopter into the ocean and then just, I don't know, because there was 100-knot winds? You want to do that? You want to do that at night, you lunatic?
How are you?
This was definitely mismanaged.
That's a big word we're hearing now.
Mismanaged, like some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in L.A. sitting there in his underwear. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this here was mismanaged.
Okay, well, it definitely was likely mismanaged because the L.A. fires are the costliest fire disaster in American history. They may end up being the most costly natural disaster in American history. That remains to be seen. And to be clear, nobody was criticizing the rank and file firefighters. Like that's just again, that's just
none of us are saying, it's not dangerous. You can go do you can go fly. We're not saying that.
And the dynamic is very different. If you watch him on with Conan or you watch him on older shows, they're always kind of laughing through their teeth because he's somewhat adversarial with them. Like, no, look, I get it, right? Like you have women who watch, so you can't say like being a mom is the fucking hardest job in the world. Really? Dude, you could just put them down on some trumped up charges. I thought like roofing in June as a redhead, you know? And the audience was like, ooh, because you're criticizing women, feminists. And even the host was uncomfortable. Here, you just see Kimmel going, yeah, right? Dummies on the internet. Right? That's the entire dynamic. Yeah. It's very, very different. And not only the numbers show it, references available, but people, including the very lesbian LA Fire Chief, Kristen Crowley, and it's relevant because she's lesbian, she criticized the city for underfunding the department, you know, for the rank and file firefighters.
Was your budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025 cut?
I can tell you, I'm going to even go back further than that. Again, since day one, we've identified huge gaps in regard to our service delivery and our ability from our firefighters, boots on the ground, to do their jobs. Since day one, this is my third budget as we're going into 25-26. What I can tell you is we are still understaffed, we're still under-resourced, and we're still underfunded. So with that, whether it's $7 million, $10 million.
But was the budget cut, Chief?
Yes, it was cut, and it did impact our ability to provide service.
Dude, you can't trust her. She's a dyke. She hates those guys, right? Thinks nothing would make her happier than sending them off to their death. That would be old Bill Burr.
Yes, that would be hilarious.
And Burr went on to claim, again, it's just factually completely inaccurate, which is fine. I get it. And it'll be like comedy hat on. And look, not all comedy is meant to be 100% accurate, but this seemed as though it was actually based in an opinion that is ill-founded. He went on to make the claim that it was the fault of the insurance companies.
I love how all the chatter out there is about bands of illegal immigrants and homeless people lighting fires. They light fires every day. They're living outside. They're cold. And this theory that some homeless guy without a car went from Altadena all the way to the Pacific Palisades, and then we have a hang glider. You know, and they're talking about looting, but CNN and Fox News are not going to bring up the insurance companies that are just going to keep everybody's premiums and still give themselves a bonus. Yes. Free Luigi.
So, and I get it. Well, the real reason the media is not bringing up the insurance companies is because it's embarrassing as it relates to liberal policy. Exactly. If Kimmel were to bring up the insurance companies, he would have to bring up the state that he loves and supports and weeps for supportively on a regular basis, because going back to 1988, California, they passed Prop 103. That basically just artificially, just abstract, they just picked a number out of a hat. It capped what the insurance companies could charge. And the insurance companies said, hey, hold on a second. We need to charge more because, specifically the neighborhood that's, Bel Air Tinderbox, we need to charge the rates higher because there's more liability. California said, no, that's usurious, right? Because we hate corporations. And I get it. Insurance companies definitely fleece people sometimes with the power and backing of government. We saw that with United Healthcare. But the reason is because the state of California made it so expensive and basically not worth the risk that insurance companies said, okay, we're leaving. We're just not going to be insuring these homes. So now you have a lot of Californians who depend on state-funded fire insurance. It's called FAIR. And ultimately, all of this puts the California taxpayers on the hook for about $392 billion. Jeez. So, and it isn't like this is unprecedented, right? You see this with health insurance across the board, whether it's the Affordable Care Act, and in that case, there weren't any caps, but you couldn't deny people for pre-existing conditions. If you want to look at the lobbying groups that are incredibly powerful and have done nothing to improve their business model as it relates to you, the consumer, look at insurance companies across the board. Any of you love to call your insurance company? Right? But best case scenario, you're probably talking to an H-1B on the other end of the line.
It takes a half day to get through to anybody.
Yes.
And denied.
Yes. So, I mean, we talked about that here on the show.
And it kind of pissed me off, his little smirk thing at the end about Luigi. I mean, I get it. I get it. Maybe that was a joke, and I get it. But free Luigi. Really, Bill?
Yeah.
I swear, I hope that was a joke. I really
I'm
hope
sure
that was a joke. And if it was, fine. It's kind of funny because she did the little thing at the end, and I was like, he's a funny guy.
He's very, that was funny.
But if
of course
he's serious,
it's a joke. It's a 1-month-old joke. But but yeah, they don't want to bring up that point though. Yeah, the insurance companies left. Yeah. But why?
Yeah.
Is it because of mismanagement and policies?
Right. Yeah.
And why can't you? That's the problem. Is you have the one part of, and that's again we're breaking down a joke. So it's like, okay, I get it. It's a joke. There are fallacies in jokes. That's part of the fun of it. But yeah, you got to mention that part too. But people take it seriously though. They go, oh yeah, all these idiots on the internet.
Yeah.
All these idiots on the internet because we're on ABC. This is legit.
Right.
We're big time TV people. We're elitists. All you dumb idiots.
Well, and I don't think either that breaking down a joke is but this wasn't necessarily a joke. And here again, there's no. Bill Burr used to be very logical with his jokes, even if I disagreed. But in this case, it's like, okay, let's believe that all corporations and insurance companies are evil. All right, let's start with that. Let's even scale that back, more reasonable. They're simply motivated by profit, and they would just as soon leave you dead in the street if they couldn't make a buck. They're going to forego, I believe, the most populated state in the union, if it's either number 1 or number 2, California. Mm-hmm. They're going to forego that giant potential pool of profit just because? There's no world in which, and you're also dealing with some of the wealthiest people in the world, certainly in Los Angeles. They could raise those rates. Why would they leave money on the table? It means that there is no possible way for the business to ensure that it makes sense. How does that happen? Only when government is involved. Yeah. State Farm, any of these insurance companies, absolutely. If there was a way, they would raise the rates on people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars in these locales, charge astronomically, and make a huge profit, let alone everyone else in that state of California. It makes no sense.
Yeah, they're the number 1 by a lot, by the way. So 40 million there, 30 million in Texas. So there's a lot of people willing to pay some money. And by the way, when did they leave? That matters a lot. Like I'm not placing blame on people necessarily, but if you're going to look at something like this, a catastrophe, the most expensive fire we have, I think Hurricane Helene was around $250 billion. So if it gets to that point, obviously it'll be the most costly natural disaster. If you're going to look at that and say, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's a bad thing. But these guys need to look like, okay, where do I live? Okay, there's a fire risk. Oh, how is it managed? We've gone to that already. And what is my own personal responsibility? Well, if insurance got canceled in June, which was the case in some of these instances, you had a lot of time to either get other insurance or go to that fair policy that California, the state, was providing for you. It's not like you had to sit there with no coverage whatsoever. You just did.
Well,
and that sucks, but at the
in
same
some instances,
time,
there definitely was no insurance available outside of the state insurance.
state,
And I
yeah,
understand
the
that that's
state is
a
the
pretty
catch-all.
Yeah, but it's also a pretty lengthy process. So there were some people who just got caught at a bad time.
maybe there's some of those, but I think the vast majority of the people that are complaining about it had some significant amount of time, enough time to get another insurance policy or go through the state policy process, which if it's a lengthy process, maybe it's a month or two.
Yeah.
They still would have had the opportunity. So I don't want us just to go, oh, they canceled like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Oh, by the way, did you hear this? State Farm has actually canceled their upcoming Super Bowl ad due to the fires, allegedly, which I said, well, that doesn't really make any sense. Why would they pull it? And we're not sure what was in the upcoming ad, but based on their last major ad, it makes sense.
Thank you, Agent State Farm.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Or they're not there.
They're like, hey, can we just run this back for the Super Bowl? It's in LA. It'll be great. Arnold, California.
This almost seems distasteful.
Yeah. Pull it!
Screaming about the fire, you baby.
I think the Super Bowl is actually in New Orleans this year, which means they're probably switching it to a hurricane.
Wait, it's New Orleans? Oh, it is New Orleans. That's right. I said LA.
Here comes the story of the hurricane. Bob Dylan.
Hey, if you like this video, you want to see more, you can hit the notification bell to know when more videos are up, or just watch weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. We live stream. It's actually live where we interact with you, and we are so happy to be here with you because it's a known fact that content creators online are the happiest among us.